Happy Nobody, your tech on a fixed income PC builder, coming to you from the sunny outback bush country of Jamaica. Yeah, man. Yeah, we've got some construction going on in the neighborhood here. You're going to hear some banging. That's the way it goes. I wanted to be able to show you before images of my G4. And this is before I straightened out the case, before I cleaned the case. Still got everything in it. But I wanted to show you before and after of what it looks like. It's beautiful. You can see scuffs. And I tested something on the acrylics to make sure that I could clean it up and clear it up. DEET is something that you can use on your on your headlights, the plastic headlight covers, and you'll have a good 3-4 months, even if it's in the sun, direct sunlight, before it starts to yellow again. So I tried it on the acrylic of this handle here, and it cleared up really nice. So there's going to be some things. Here's the internals, of course. This is everything works. I took everything out. This is 2 CPU board, dual CPUs underneath this heatsink, and only one stick of RAM, and I think it's 512 with an SSD. It was pretty snappy, but not enough RAM to be able to actually be used online or anything like that. Even with another operating system, I did do some installs of the operating system, other operating systems, to be able to see whether it worked, have some fun, basically. And this is the only fan. I'm going to be cutting some holes in the bottom. There's some space. If you check out the case, there's quite a bit of space underneath here, and there's not any acrylic on the bottom of this case. It's open tin or metal, steel, pretty thick steel. It's taking me days to be able to cut it out. Do another video on that. But it's plenty of space to be able to put in some fans, get some actual ventilation in this hot box, as it's called. But it's beautiful. It's just gorgeous. Here we are skinned. The images that should have gone before this would have shown with it still with the plastic all on it, all the acrylic. It's also gutted. And it's cleaned up, dusted at least, wiped off. And if you remember, this corner up here was pushed out. This was pushed out, and the plastic had a gap in it. And it just took a few slight taps with a hammer. You can see that the pop rivets were knocked out. I cannot imagine what type of an impact would have caused the pop rivets to break without the plastic being shattered, and it stayed misshapen even with the plastic on. The acrylic, thick acrylic. This thing is 30 pounds when it's fully loaded. And I've got all the components that came out of it, and everything works except for the front panel and the fan. I kept the fan, at least the fan mounting is 120 millimeter or 12 centimeter, and I plan on changing that out. I kept the front panel board behind the switches, and I also used the light. That was a soldering, juggling trick to be able to get that board. I needed a board to be able to align the switches, and alligator clip and screwdriver and soldering iron and super glue later, and we have a board. Let's see if it
focuses with the appropriate switches in the appropriate places with the light in the right places. So now all I have to do is screw it straight to the front panel. It was a guy that went through the circuitry of this board and soldered wire to it and bypassing this, that, and the next thing to be able to use this as well as the original plug with a different board, doing his sleeper. I can't imagine figuring all that out or following his process. He's got a step-by-step process. He's got a website, and you can do the board like he did. Me, I just drilled out the holes where the switches were, right down the middle of the switches, super glued some switches onto the back, and they work without super glue having touched them. And the soldering job on the light, though, that was a trick on the bottom of that light. And then the heat wrapping. Oh gosh, what a deal that was. Fun. Of course, you're going to burn your fingers if you got soldering skills like me. But it's coming along. We've got to take the standoffs that are in here. Get the standoffs out of there. I've got a hand Dremel tool, rechargeable one. It's a Dremel type tool. And I've got to cut off these standoffs and drill and screw in or nut from the other side on the bottom of the drop-off, or the drop-off standoff, so that they have the proper distance and everything. Gonna have to cut out this I/O so that the motherboard that I have's I/O can fit in there, and I have to align it so that the PCIe, it's an ITX board, is going to line up the graphics card with the slot. A little bit of work, and one of the big challenges is the space where the power supply. Now this has the standard ATX holes as far as the screw holes to be able to hold it in place. It's got the standard screw holes. I made a template with paper on the back of the power supply that I plan on putting in. It matches this, so it's not going to be that much work to be able to line it up that way, but the thickness of it is still the same as the one that came out of here, but the thickness of the case won't allow for the CPU cooler to have a CPU tower here. It's going to have a low profile, and to be able to have a low profile that will fit on a 2011 socket and dissipate enough of the heat is going to be a trick. This is what is known as a hot box case, and the air is blowing out through that hole there, and they had a small fan on the next to the CPU cooler, and we're going to have to figure something out to be able to get more airflow through here. It's got a few holes on the bottom over there in that back corner to be able to allow airflow, but we'll increase it. I am going to put a modern DVD that's going to fit in there. The IDE one is very long, being able to make a bracket to be able to hold it in place, as well as the slot underneath was a zip drive. That's a perfect size slot to be able to put USB. The ITX board that I have does have USB 3 available, but I'm only going to be using USB 2. I don't need so many fast USBs. I'll manage. But this is where we're at so far.